dear viewers, welcome to the radio television of Djibouti. Here are our major stories for tonight. The Interior Minister in an interview reassures Ethiopian nationals and urges them not to panic. And regional news, Salva Kiir pardoned Riek Machar and other rebels in South Sudan. Following the tragic events at Diridawa, the Ethiopian Prime Minister sent today a message of condolence to the President of the Republic, the government, and especially the people of Djibouti. So in the name of the people and the government of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, and in my own name, said Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, it is with deep sorrow and sadness that I learned of the tragic death of Djiboutian nationals who had come to spend their holiday in the city of Diridawa, that the Djiboutians have always considered as a second home. The brutality of this act, which took the lives of innocent Djiboutian nationals, in no way reflects the mentality and habits of the Ethiopian people, he said. Therefore, not only do we unequivocally condemn this heinous act, we also assure you that those who have committed this heinous crime will be brought to justice, he continued. Please convey to the families of the victims our deepest condolence and receive, Excellency and dear brother, all my sympathies in these difficult times, and the assurance of my highest consideration, concluded the message Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. The President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Mergeli, replied to this message, expressing his sincere thanks for the message of condolence and sympathy that the Prime Minister sent it to him, which is aimed at the families of the Djiboutian victims who were murdered in Diridawa, said the head of state in his message. Indeed, this heinous act and such a brutality of a few criminals in no way reflects the state of mind of Ethiopians, who remains a people committed to peace. I can assure you, Excellency and dear brother, that these tragic events will in no way undermine the exemplary relations of friendship and cooperation between our two brotherly people in our two governments, underlines President Gelle. Allow me also to seize this opportunity continues to express to you in my turn and on behalf of the people in the government of Djibouti our sincere condolences and our deep sympathy for the loss of innocent civilians in Jigjiga following the troubles which have agitated in recent days of the city of Jigjiga. The people and the government of Djibouti join me in renewing our full solidarity and compassion for the families of the victims and their loved ones, said President Ismail Mergeli. To the national news, Djibouti has always been a land of welcome, in its population is of hospitable and tolerant tradition. After a message of condolence, the Minister of the Interior came back on the tragic events of Diridawa. He said that any Ethiopian nationals wishing to leave the country and can do so with peace of mind. These are the words of the Minister of the Interior, Mr. Hassan Umar Mohammed, this morning on the occasion of a statement to the national press. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports, Hassan Mohammed Kamil, received this morning at his office the judo champion Ms. Huda Faisal in the presence of Mrs. Aisha Garat, President of the National Olympic Committee, and the Director of Sports, Mr. Abshir Ali. The young Huda Faisal won the bronze medal in its category of 44 kilograms during the third edition of the African Youth Games organized in Algiers at the end of July. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports congratulated the young medalist and declared proud of the performance of a young Djiboutian who raised the national colors. Hassan Mohammed Kamil said that such glory still brought out enthusiasm and patriotic fervor. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sports has promised to provide all the necessary support to see an annual grant to encourage the young Huda and help her to go forward. The President of the Olympic Committee, Aisha Ali, is delighted by the efforts of the State Secretary for Youth and Sports to promote the development of national sport and the promotion of youth. The young medalist declared herself satisfied and honored to be received by the Secretary of State with all attentions and warm welcome. The second and third flights of Djiboutian pilgrims left last night the capital of Djibouti for the city of Medina. A total of 180 pilgrims on the second flight and 178 pilgrims on the third flight departed from the Djibouti International Airport to the city of Medina, Saudi Arabia. A total of 534 pilgrims left to make their pilgrimage to the holy places of Islam, namely Mecca and Medina, It is with this in mind that a pilgrimage committee was set up for the smooth running of Hajj 2018 from the departure of the pilgrims until their return to Djibouti. For his part, the Acting Secretary General, Mr. Idris Musa, thanked all the preparatory committee of the pilgrims, as well as all the media, the RTD, the Universal TV, and the audiovisual team of the Ministry of Waqfs. The first wave of Djibouti pilgrims, made up of 176 pilgrims, arrived in Medina, Saudi Arabia, to fulfill the fifth pillar of Islam. In total, some 1,500 Djiboutians are called to perform this year their pilgrimage to the holy places of Islam, in this case Mecca and Medina. The Ministry of Muslim Affairs, Culture and Welfare, in collaboration with the airport authorities, has put in place conditions conducive to the comfort of pilgrims wherever they go in order to fulfill their religious duty. Let's recall that the national airline Air Djibouti will ensure this year also the transfer of Djiboutian pilgrims. On this day of Wednesday, August 9, the Khamsin winds are critical across the country. This periodic phenomenon in summer in our country affects the coastal areas. The visibility is very low on land, and also for the users of the sea who must remain always vigilant. In the capital, the visibility is much reduced and the wind flows adds to the strong heat. The situation is very difficult for the Djiboutians. From the center of Djibouti, it is difficult to see the big suburb because of the fog, and it is advisable for the road and users to double their vigilance since the beginning of this month of July. A violent wind called Khamsin blows with the speed of 50 to 60 kilometers per hour on the city of Djibouti and on the coast of the city in this period of strong heat. And as a result of the Khamsin wind that has been racing this morning, a fire broke out in the middle of the day at Duda locality. The fire that was quickly mastered by the firefighters destroyed only one house and one encampment. So it is more than fear than harm. No other damage was deployed. It is in this period of great heat, and especially Khamsin vigilance is therefore a must. It is therefore with simple gestures of caution that such a situation can be avoided. RTD, the Djibouti Red Crescent, in partnership with UNICEF, this morning distributed hygiene kits and clothing packages to vulnerable households in the locality of Demirjok. In fact, the vast majority of these people who are poor are likely to be exposed to problems related to lack of hygiene. It should be noted that the Red Crescent of Djibouti has also distributed clothes for men, women and children of all ages. Like other regions, the region of Tajora welcomed many families of tourists from Djibouti in the chief places of the regions that spend the holidays to escape the suffocating heat. Indeed, the Tajora region has several localities to spend the holidays in a pleasant climate. The area of Mount Goda, Mabla and Weima is very famous for its climate, especially during the summer period. Whole families stay in the summer for the benefit of the shopkeepers who do good business, and some rent their homes during the summer. The farmers also take the opportunity to sell their dairy products, and the artisans also take advantage to offer the products made in the localities. Sports and cultural competitions between young people from Djibouti and young people from localities take place, and some senior Djiboutian executive and even politicians from the region spend the summer in Tajora region. According to some, this phenomenon of homecoming will be accentuated with the development of road infrastructure that will improve access in the more remote areas of Tajora, like the Musali sector, which is located more than 200 meters away. The rest is to be discovered by Djiboutian and foreign tourists. It is with great sadness that we have learned of the death of the Dean of Regional Councils of Dikhil, in this case the late Abdullah Bakr Muhammad. The late Abdullah Bakr Muhammad has been a source of inspiration, and his legacy remains and continues through the generations. He was engaged from 1970 to 1977 in the National Force of Security before being in 1994 one of the actors of the peace agreement between the FRUD and the government government. From 1995 to 2006, he was the president of Transport Union Minibus Van in Trucks Courier Sud of Glafi, and then in 2001 he becomes a member of the FRUB National Council, and finally since February 10, 2006, and until his death he was Dean member of the Regional Council of Dakhil, the prefect of the region of Dakhil Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, and the president of the Regional Council of Abdurrahman Yunus Array, as well as all the members of the Regional Council of Dakhil, address their condolences to the families and relatives of the deceased and pray to the Almighty to welcome him to his eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. On the news outside our borders, South Sudan, Salva Kiir pardoned Riek Machar and other rebels. More with Mohammed Aden.
A few days after the signing of a power-sharing agreement, South Sudanese President Salva Kiir issued a decree which he amnestied rebels, including ex-Vice President Riek Machar. The radio reported on Thursday state President Salva Kiir has issued a presidential decree amnesty Riek Machar and other groups who have taken up arms against the government since 2013. This decree takes effect on August 8, 2018, reads this text Thursday morning on state radio in Juba. Salva Kiir also again called on his troops to respect the ceasefire signed in June with Riek Machar. The announcement comes shortly after Khartoum signed an agreement on power sharing between the government and the rebels on August 5, which among others,
Democratic Republic of Congo, Emmanuel Shadri nominated to succeed Joseph Kabila in the presidential elections. The United Nations welcomes the decision. More with Mohammed Aden.
Emmanuel Shadari is nominated by the ruling coalition to succeed President Joseph Kabila in the planned presidential elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. According to Congolese government spokesman Lambert Mende, Shadari is a former interior minister, now permanent secretary of the People's Party for Reconstruction and Democracy. Born in 1958, father of 8 children, he is an elected member of the Kambambare constituency. He was president of the PPRD parliamentary group. His nomination as a presidential candidate ends a period of uncertainty over Kabila's political future, whose second and last terms expired in December 2016. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has described it as progress, the decision of President Joseph Kabila.
Gaza, an Israeli raid kills a pregnant woman and her daughter. Explanations in this reportage.
An Israeli raid in the center of the Gaza Strip killed a pregnant woman and her granddaughters early Thursday, slightly injured her father, the Gaza Health Ministry said. Ministry spokesman Ashraf Al-Qadra said in a statement that the 23-year-old was in her 9th month of pregnancy and that the girl was 1.5 years old. The attack on Deir el-Balah also slightly injured the 27-year-old father, he added. On the evening on Wednesday, a 30-year-old Hamas activist was killed in his car during another Israeli raid in northern Gaza. Qadra confirmed his death, adding to 8 other civilians were injured in the raid. Hamas fighters in Gaza fired more than.
In Nagasaki, the head of the United Nations stresses the urgency of denuclearization. More in this video.
The Secretary General of the United Nations launched this Thursday in Nagasaki, a city in southwestern Japan, theater of an atomic bombing August 9, 1945, an urgent call to accelerate nuclear denuclearizations in the world. 73 years later, it still hangs the specters of unthinkable carnage, said Antonio Guterres, the first incumbent UN boss to attend the victims' tribute ceremony in the city. The nuclear powers are spending huge sums to modernize their arsenal, and disarmament process have slowed down and even stopped, he said. There is an urgent need for disarmament of all kinds, and more particular nuclear. The mayor of Nagasaki, Tomiza Tao, delivered a similar message today, 73 years after the end of the Second World War.
And that's all for this news. Thank you for joining us on Radio Television of Djibouti, and have a good weekend.